necessary for a marketing professional to do MBA to get a hike in salary?
Either you compensate that with years of experience or you do MBA. That's the harsh reality.
Can you just tell us the red flags in corporate now that you left your job 9 to 5? What are those red flags?
You have less freedom to do things.
You just said you signed Rohit Sharma, Nora, Fatehi. How did you close that deal?
दिखेगा तो बिक जाएगा. Are we ready?
Yes.
So Aakriti, tell me, how did you develop the love of marketing?
So I think it's very interesting. And in the initial days, like when I was doing my graduation, I never wanted to do marketing. And that's a very interesting story because I remember there was this one professor who recommended that, Aakriti, you should do marketing, right? And I said, no, why will I do marketing? And there are a lot of misconceptions about marketing, that you have to do sales, you have to do all of these callings and stuff like that, right? So I told him, no, I don't want to do. So he still insisted and he connected me with a lot of people, and I still did not, kind of get connected with them or, called them. And so I was doing my economic honors, but I knew that I don't want to be like a business analyst or, like a data analyst. So I thought, ki, let's, try and connect with the, try and experience the other fields, right? So I did like about 7 internships. So I did one in HR, one in research, one in content writing, and, what not. I would have actually explored everything possible. And then nothing worked out for me. I didn't like anything absolutely. And so, finally I thought that, okay, let me give marketing a try. And that's when I joined Noise as an intern back in 2018, I remember. And that's where marketing started. And I just fell in love with it because, it was just so spontaneous and, you could do so much with it. So, yeah.
Wow. So as a beginner, how did you crack companies like Nivea, Urban Company, Godrej and Noise?
So, Urban Company was during my graduation days, undergrad. I was doing an HR internship there. So, I used to, kind of reach out to a lot of people, right? So, I think the best way of getting something is to, kind of just reach out to people and ask them, right? There's no harm in asking, right? So, I remember I applied a lot on Internshala and all of these sites, and then I got a call from them, and I think I just did well in the interview because I was so researched about the companies. And Godrej, Nivea, L'Oreal, all of these happened after my MBA. So yes, MBA did give it a push, right? But I think the best way to crack an interview for any MNC or any company whatsoever is that, one, you need to be very clear about what you are expecting from the company and what they're expecting from you, right? There needs to be a resonance there, right? You need to be very, very well prepared about the company. I remember when I was appearing for my L'Oreal interview, I had this thick notes that I had prepared about L'Oreal, wherein I had, so they have about 30-40 brands in India, right? And I researched about each one of those brands.
Wow.
I had 2-3 pages written on each brand. I wrote down every possible answer or question I could that I found on the internet, or generic questions, right? I prepared them well. And more than that, I prepared about myself as to what is it that I want and what is it that I know, right? So, for example, there's a simple question, tell me about yourself, right? We can all speak about ourselves, right? But how do we engage someone to listen to our answer, right? And that's through story, and that's something I've learned from marketing.
Wow.
So you build a story around yourself, right? Wherein you tell that, okay, these are the incidents that happened with me and that is why I am who I am, right? And then you build onto that story in a way that you tell people and the interviewer especially that this is why you should hire me, because these are the values that I embody and these are the values that resonate with your company as well. So I think it's all on the interview prep.
Aakriti, let's suppose you just spoke about, tell me about yourself. You prepared a lot. Can you just give an example, like if you are Aakriti Bansal, again appearing for Noise, again appearing for L'Oreal. So what should be your tell me about yourself should look like?
So this is something I've actually practiced more than 100 times. So I have it by heart. Okay. So I always start my tell me about yourself with one sentence, which is I used to be a very curious kid, and I still am a very curious person. So while I was doing my graduation, I did like about 7 internships, out of which marketing was the one that intrigued me the most. And that is how I got into noise. And once I got into noise, I was exposed to so many opportunities and so many things that I could do there. So I did couple of celebrity endorsements. And for a graduate to have that experience, that was truly enriching for me. I signed Rohit Sharma and Nora Fatehi for noise. I did strategic partnerships for them, and I handled their brand. I think that really gave me a sense that I could do more with my career. I could learn more, and so I thought that there is requirement for me to enhance my skills and build on my skills, and that is why I got into MBA. So once I got into MBA, I realized that there's so much that I need to do. Right. So I started experimenting with case competitions wherein I won national, we were the national winners for L'Oreal Brandstorm. And that is how I got this interview for L'Oreal. And I'm very, grateful to be sitting here and, having this conversation about, my candidature for your, company.
Great. I think any would can hire you on this. Yeah, that's great. Just one question. You just said you signed Rohit Sharma, Nora Fatehi. How did you close that deal?
Initially, it was very difficult. I think it's about building connections in the industry, right? Whenever you're in marketing, it is very important to know, one, what is happening in the industry, and second, who are those people who are actually doing it, right? So as a fresher, I had no connects, right? So I just started reaching out to people over LinkedIn, through connects, through people who had previously signed Rohit and Nora, and started connecting with them as to who should I get in touch with to kind of actually get them to kind of listen to us. So I got connected with a lot of people, a lot of agencies who do this, right? We floated around inquiries about them, and then we went on to Mumbai. We went to Yash Raj. We went to different agencies and we met Rohit's wife, who currently handles him.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how we signed them. And this is not in a span of like 2-3 months. This is like in a span of a year, because it takes like a very long time to first identify the right celebrity, then getting in touch with them, then negotiating prices and deliverables with them, and then actually shooting content with them. So it's like at least a year and a half long process that we go through. So yeah, I think just started networking, just hit a lot of places, with like random inquiries, and then reached out to a lot of people.
Seems like a super fun that you connected with Nora Fatehi, Rohit Sharma. Yeah, that's great, man. In the beginning of your career, if you are, getting in touch with these type of celebrities, it always give you a push, I believe,
Yeah.
to be better, to get going, and yeah, to be on top. Yeah, you cracked, I would say, that top companies interview. Like, what questions did they ask you in the interview?
I remember this very interesting question someone asked me in my L'Oreal interview, which is, what brings you here? And I think whenever you're in an interview, right, you must utilize every question to their fullest potential, right? So for example, when someone asked me that what brings you here, instead of saying that I'm here for an interview, I said I'm here for a conversation. Because I've always believed that an interview is a conversation between two people trying to find synergies between each other. Because it's not just the company who's hiring you, but it's also the company that you're choosing to, be in and spend your time with, right? So this was one question. Then there were a couple of more questions, like, obviously, tell me about yourself. At L'Oreal, they asked me what campaigns I love the most, right? They asked me how I would differently place Maybelline and probably another product from the industry, right? They gave a guesstimate wherein they asked something about, I don't remember, it's like 2-3 years back now. But then they asked me a guesstimate, about some watches, that if suppose Maybelline is supposed to launch a watch, how would you identify the target audience? So that was there. And a couple of more questions like, why do you want to join L'Oreal, and you work with Godrej? So for example, you get an offer from Godrej, which company would you choose? Why would you choose L'Oreal over any other company? For example, Noise comes back and hires you. Will you probably consider that, or will you consider L'Oreal? So, very tricky questions.
Which actually happened in your case.
Yeah, it did.
You actually quit L'Oreal and then you again joined Noise. I know this story. Please tell our audience this story, because that's very interesting. Very interesting.
Honestly, I love L'Oreal. Okay, I've loved working there, and I definitely did not want to, kind of leave the company. But again, so how things unfolded back then was, I was in Chennai. Okay, I was working there as a management trainee in sales in L'Oreal. Right, it was a great stint for me because it was something that I had never done before, but it was so interesting because I got to travel so much and work so much with the people around there, experience a different culture, right? So it was a great experience. And then I had to move to Mumbai for a full-time role. Like, obviously management trainee is also a full-time role, but I was moving into a managerial role in Mumbai, right? And I had started looking for options like house options and stuff like that. But then eventually my mom, she was not feeling well at that point of time. So she was like, I want you to come back and stuff like that. So she was not really feeling well. So I thought, okay, let's see what best we can do. And incidentally, Noise happened at that point of time because I had already worked with them previously. So, they called, they were just randomly checking that, Aakriti, do you think you can join us back? Because we have an open position. We have a very interesting role that, we would like you to take up, because both the founders are good friends. So, they kind of connected with me. So, it was a great timing for me. So, I kind of chose that role and moved back to Gurgaon and started with Noise.
I guess that's the best thing when you leave a company on a good note. That's the perks you get afterwards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Never leave your company on a bad note. Always.
Absolutely. And I think it's also to do with what you want from life.
Yeah.
Right? So there were a lot of people who told me that, why are you leaving L'Oreal? Like, it's such a big brand, you'll get to do so much.
Yeah.
And the other management trainees who were with me, they're still part of L'Oreal because it has a great culture, right? But it's also what you expect from life. For example, for me, my family comes first, right? For them, I would probably not care about anything else at that point when they need me, right? So definitely my priority was my mom at that point of time. Secondly, again, like you said, always leave a company at a good note, right? So the last 8 years, I think I have continuously worked with Noise some way or the other. So after I left Noise, when I was in my MBA, I did couple of projects with them.
Okay.
After I had graduated from my MBA, I had 3 months in hand before I joined L'Oreal, and I was again back at the Noise office, wherein I was handling the personal brand for both the founders. I actually set up their PR for them at that point of time. And then I moved on to L'Oreal. And then again, after 6 months, they reached out and said that, okay, do you want to come back? And that's how it happened. So I think I just kept touch with them, left the company at a good note. And yes, like you said, it's really important.
Yeah. Back then, when you were in L'Oreal, have you ever got the chance to go in
Paris
Fashion Week?
No, yeah. I could not. That's why. Yeah, I wish to.
But being from a marketing background, like, it's like in our edge that we can go there, or it's a possibility that
I think I'm not sure entirely, because that topic never came up while I was there. And I don't think any of my other management trainees have been there till now. But yes, you do get to travel a lot to Paris and other places. So they take you out on vacations to Dubai and to Singapore and whatnot. So they have their conferences here, like annual conferences. So that's super fun. Yeah.
Wow. What's the perks of working in L'Oreal and Noise?
L'Oreal, they give you a lot of hampers, like a lot of gift hampers. I left L'Oreal 2 years back. I still have so many products unused.
Oh my
Because
God.
Diwali hamper is like this big, New Year hamper is like this big, and you cannot count the number of products they would send you. So I love that perk about L'Oreal.
Wow.
At Noise, I think the perk is the growth opportunities that you get. Being a startup, obviously, it's a hustle culture. But the perk there is you get a lot of opportunities to grow as an individual. They would keep promoting you to better projects and, better positions. So I think
Yeah.
that is a great perk working at Noise.
Okay, great. Both the companies have given you so much,
Yeah, absolutely.
full of,
It's also about how much you take from where you are.
yeah.
Yeah, it's also dependent on an individual
Yeah.
as to whatever opportunities are thrown at you, are you able to grab them when they're given to you?
Yes,
So yeah.
yes. Aakriti, I believe that you did your MBA from which college?
IMT Ghaziabad.
IMT Ghaziabad. Yes, absolutely right. Not coming from big B schools, have you ever find it difficult to reach to those top companies?
Honestly, no. So though IMT is fairly well placed in the industry right now, obviously I'm Ahmedabad or I'm Bangalore or Calcutta, right? When I joined L'Oreal, I was in the same cohort that often I'm Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or Calcutta person, or probably someone from MDI or IFT, right? It's because these companies don't differentiate based on your college, as long as you're from the top 15 or top 20 colleges. Obviously, if you are not from like the top 15 colleges, probably they won't come to your campus. That is like a hard truth. But you can still get to these companies through case competition. So they have opened that avenue as well for you. So there are a lot of ways you can reach to these companies after your MBA or during your MBA. But I've never felt that way, that I cannot go to MNCs because I'm ABC or whatever. Because honestly, as long as you're in a good college, how you perform during the college is what matters the most, right? Because the case competitions, they give you a fair chance to everyone. So for example, let's take an example of L'Oreal Brandstorm, right? More than 8,000 teams participate in that competition, pan India.
Okay.
Right? And out of those 8,000, only one team becomes the national winner, right? And these are teams from all campuses across, like top 20 colleges in India. So you name it. Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, everyone, Indore, Lucknow, every college is part of this case competition. Now it is on you how well you place your idea, how well you build your idea, how well you build your PPT, how well you prepare for it, how innovative it is, and that really takes you ahead. So me being from IMT Ghaziabad, I won, and my team obviously won the national winners for L'Oreal Brandstorm.
Okay.
There was no partiality there, right? And that's how we got our PPOs, and that's how we got placed.
Yeah. Okay, so that's how. So basically now there is a myth that if you are in that top B schools, top IIMs, maybe Kozhikode or IIM Ahmedabad, only then you can, get into that top company. But I guess that's only a myth.
That's only a myth. I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that's true. Yeah, there's so many people from other colleges who've got into like top companies. It's again, like I said, how well you perform in an interview, how well you do in your MBA, and how well you grab opportunities.
Aakriti, I saw your Instagram. Yeah, so you make beautiful paintings. Genuinely, means I believe that off camera I haven't had this word about that paintings thing, but you made those beautiful paintings, and basically yesterday only I saw it. How did you manage your passion with your profession? Like how?
I think it's about managing time. So I don't paint very often. Okay, I would be honest with you. Like
but when you paint, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so I paint out of emotion. So whenever I'm feeling that need to paint, to have that therapy or to, kind of just relax for a while and just be in my zone, that is when I paint. And that's why it comes out so original, because probably I might just be painting. So there have been years where I've just painted once in a year or probably twice in a year. So that's why each painting of mine takes like years to make, because it's so mood dependent. And that is precisely why I don't take it up as a profession.
Okay.
Because obviously I cannot depend on my mood for my profession, right? But yes, I think I've been painting since I was 5.
Oh.
Okay, so my mom's an artist,
Mm.
and she used to just make me sit and make me paint and do colors and all of that. So I've been painting since I was 5, but I think it's more of a hobby, more of a passion for me, wherein I just do it when I feel like.
Okay, so when there's a need come to paint.
I think when I want to be in my own zone, I want to have some creative brainstorming. Like, so when I'm painting, my mind is completely empty.
Okay.
And so in marketing,
Yeah.
you have to be very creative, right? You need to have ideas. So I create a lot of content on LinkedIn. I create a lot of content on Instagram. And obviously there are creative blocks, right? And like I mentioned before also, my book is coming out next year, right? And to write that book every day, right, you need that creative spark in you to construct that story further, right? So you need to empty your mind to start thinking again. Okay, it's not that you fill your mind with too much information and that's when you can think. That never happens. Whenever you want to think creative, whenever you want to do something creative, you need to first empty your mind and then actually understand and think, okay, what is required right now, or if I can get more ideas. So I paint when I want to kind of just empty my mind and relax and just start afresh.
Yeah.
One is that. I also paint on vacations, so I always have my little diary or something like that, and painting. So I remember when I was in Italy, I was just looking at the Leaning Tower of Pisa and just painting it. So it's like a little therapy for me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So basically your passion helped in your profession, right?
Absolutely. Every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a notion that if you come from that creative background, marketing, copywriting, content writing, any specific, anything related to marketing, one should have that passion? Or is it not that necessary?
I think
Because we do deal with, because since I am from a marketing background, I also need to make content on LinkedIn and stuff for my pages. I also feel creative blocks. Then how to handle those? Like, for that, is it necessary that I should find my passion to beat that creative block?
I think creativity comes through different forms. Okay, so it's not just art, it's also dance, it's also
Yeah.
singing, right? It's also writing. Writing is also creative,
Yeah.
right? So you can also train yourself, right? I always feel it's a mixture of everything, right? Obviously there's your passion, that's one, right? But again, so for example, someone who doesn't paint, that does not mean he's not creative, right?
Yeah.
Photography is creative for that
Yeah.
matter, right? But how do you become a better photographer? Is by practicing, right? Or is by experimenting more. So for example, I follow a lot of pages, I look at a lot of campaigns, I see and not just in India, outside India, what is happening in the world, what is new, what are people thinking. I read a lot of books, just to see how creatively someone has written something. So sometimes I would just read a book, not for the story but for the writing style, and I would observe a lot of people. So for example, you're sitting here, I'm observing you, right? So you're like a character for me, right? And that gives me some inspiration to do something somewhere, right? Or it might give me an inspiration to do something somewhere, in some campaign I might be, kind of making at some point in time, right?
Yeah.
So it's observation, it's research, it's understanding things in depth, and actually understanding the meaning. So I'll give you a very good example. So I don't know if you've read the book Pandemonium. So it's by Piyush Pandey. He's the creative director at Ogilvy, or the ex-creative director at Ogilvy, I think, right now. And he's written this very beautifully, and he's made some really brilliant campaigns in India, right? So that Fevicol Ka Jod campaign that went so viral, right? That fisherman with his
Yeah, I've
stick
seen that.
and, kind of fishing with the Fevicol and Feviquick and all, right? How did he get that inspiration? By observing people. So he says in the book that, I deliberately take trains and, I go in those third class or like sleeper class train
just to feel, I guess,
just to sit there and observe people. And that's how I get inspiration to build my characters in my ads.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sometimes you have to be in other shoes to feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's, I guess, great. Aakriti, you mentioned campaigns. You mentioned someone from Mogilvi has did certain number of campaigns, I'm 100% sure that you have also in your career had made so many amazing or viral campaigns. So thoda sa, can you just speak about on that viral campaigns जो आपने L'Oreal में करे, जो आपने you did in Noise.
So I think today marketing is not just about campaigns.
Yeah.
Okay, one is that. So whenever you're a marketing manager or you're a brand manager, you need to go beyond, right? You need to see what the problem actually is, right? Obviously, you're connecting with the consumer, but have you understood that journey from the consumer to buying your product, like in that entire funnel? Have you actually understood that, right? Now what happens is, so for example, at L'Oreal, I was not a brand manager. I was a sales I was in sales, right? I was a management trainee in Chennai. My territory was Tamil Nadu, right? Very difficult terrain, by the way. There were a lot of language barriers and stuff, but it was one of the most challenging and one of the most interesting experiences of my life. Because so I was working on Maybelline and I was trying to understand why the sales of Maybelline in Tamil Nadu are not good. Right? Because Lakme is there. Lakme has a major part of, the makeup business in South, right? But that is not true for Maybelline. And my project was to increase sales for Maybelline, right?
Yeah.
Now, for me as a marketing manager, I could have suggested campaigns like that. Okay, let's do a campaign and show celebrities and, let's promote makeup, right? But that's just one part of it, right? I need to first understand where the problem is, right? So I interacted with a lot of consumers. I obviously shadowed and observed a lot of consumers, right? That is one. And I realized that the problem is not with consumer mindset there, for sure, right? People are using makeup. People are using skincare. Absolutely, that's not the issue. So I went back to my drawing board and I try to understand the journey from a distributor to a retailer to probably a store or like whatever, a wholesaler to a retailer, and to the consumer and to the after purchase, as to where the problem actually lies. And I realized while researching, so I visited more than 200 stores to understand this, and I realized,
stores.
Yeah, minimum across Tamil Nadu. So Coimbatore, Trichy, Kanyakumari, wherever you name it, I've been there. I've talked to their retailers, distributors and whatnot. So I understood that people are not using Maybelline because they're not present in stores. And that's because we have a very limited amount of makeup products in stores right now, which is probably a kajal mostly, right? Because kajal constitutes a major part of makeup in South, okay? So I realized that other products are missing there, right? And retailers are not keeping these products because either they're very expensive, right, for them, or they've not been given the right deal, right? Or maybe we've not pushed enough, right? So I understood this gap, okay, ki dikhega to big jayega, right? So I made a slab, like I made a entire proposal for these retailers. I visited more than 500 retailers to pitch them my proposal, okay? Out of them, I probably 100 accepted. We kept Maybelline products, like we built a window, we kept the products there, and you won't believe we had like an 800% delta in those 3 months, just because we had those products placed in the store in the right way and in the right bifurcation as per the geography. So marketing is not just about campaigns or viral campaigns. It's also about understanding the problem in the consumer journey, understanding the consumer's problem, and then bringing out an insight out of the various observations that you've done, and then providing a solution to it. So Nora's campaign, she was very trending at that point of time. Not that she's not now, but at that point of time, she just entered, okay? And yes, there was less credibility because she just entered, but then she was a very known face. She had like a lot of projects coming up. So we did a very beautiful film with her, like a video film with her, and that really worked well for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which one of Nora Fatehi, if you can name the campaign?
It was It's like 8 years back.
Okay.
It was, I think, Listen to the Noise Within, something like that. We placed it like that, and then she was dancing very beautifully with the earphones on.
Yeah, the earphones on,
Yeah,
yeah.
and we'd made like a film out of it wherein she was just expressing herself.
Have you ever believed that, or have you ever think that your campaign or your marketing strategies for any of those brands that you have worked in have made that brand a household name?
Yes, Noise for sure. I started working with them very early on. Not a lot of people knew Noise back then, and but it takes years for a brand to build into a household name, right?
Yeah.
It's not just me. It's an entire team. It's an entire tribe.
Yeah.
It takes to build.
It takes an army.
It takes an army, absolutely, to build something, and Noise is obviously a result of that. It's not just me. I'm just a contributor to it. I've just been a very small part of it, but there is a team of more than 200 people who are working there every day trying to make this brand into something that it is today, right? And I'm sure there have been and I know a lot of people who've contributed more than me, but I think it takes sustainable marketing efforts to build into something, and I think that's what we've been able to do through these years.
Okay, that's great. When we talk about numbers, what do you think that how much sales you have given to one of your companies when it comes to those campaigns and marketing strategies?
Once I calculated how much revenue I'm bringing in a month, I was close to 1 crore,
Oh,
and that
wow.
was like back a long time back, and I'm very sure that I've done much better in the previous times. I don't have like exact numbers, but yes, the last time I calculated it was like 1 crore, 2 crores around. Yeah.
Okay, so you must be paying good at that time, I believe.
No, I was this is when I was in Noise as an associate. So that's when I calculated that my contribution to the company right now is more than 1 crore, because I was doing like a lot of campaigns, influencer marketing campaigns, and I was running an affiliate program and stuff like that. So I calculated that every month this is how much I'm contributing to the company. L'Oreal, I'm very sure it would have been more with the amount of work we did for Maybelline, but honestly, I don't remember the numbers now.
Oh my god.
I just remember the percentages. Yeah.
Yeah, but the crore figure that you have just given, that's huge. But I believe that you should be paying according to that if you are, giving in marketing, because that's where we believe, or there's a notion in other people's mind that marketing people are paid very well, because through our campaigns, through our strategies, we are providing sales to the company. And yes, of course, the sales team are taking care of this for what they are, but there is a notion that marketing people, oh, they are getting very heavy amount. But I believe that you are not getting at that time because you were associate, but at that time only you were contributing a lot to the company.
I think yes, marketing professionals are paid well. Okay. Also depends on the pedigree that you come from, for sure. But I think in the initial years, you have to put in a little bit extra effort, right? Because you don't have experience. It's like the same thing as a freelancer. You're trying to build your portfolio, right? As an individual. So when I joined Noise as a fresher, I literally had no experience and nothing to prove to tell them that, you should be paying me high enough to, kind of retain me, right? So I started at a very low salary. Slowly and steadily, they did increase it after seeing my efforts, right? And after MBA, it just exponentially increased, right? It's also because of the college. It's also because of the work I had done in the past, right? And all of that. But again, in the initial years, it's very important for you to, kind of learn more, and, kind of add more to you. And more than that, you need to learn how much value you're able to add to a business, right? So marketing is not just about campaigns. It's not just about influencer marketing or social media. It's not just about that. It's about growth, right? I remember my last boss, Gaurav Mehta, he taught me this really well, that you're not just a marketer, you're a growth marketer. How much you add to the business is what is going to be, what you are going to be valued at, right? You need to ensure that you're adding business, you're adding revenue to the company, and your marketing effort should move in that direction in a way that you're not wasting money. Today, you would hear that a lot of people say कि हमें budget, we don't get budget, right? For example, or we cannot tell you the ROI from a marketing campaign. For example, a lot of people say that, but I believe that there needs to be some KPI related to your marketing campaign for you to show results, right? For example, it can be in the terms of viewership. How much viewership did you increase, or how much engagement did you bring in, right? Or how much sales did you bring in? Obviously, sales is a derived factor that you can just assume in marketing, but there are also today in today's digital space, it's easier to kind of even calculate sales, right? So yeah.
You mentioned that after doing MBA, your salary got increased. Is it necessary for a marketing professional to do MBA to get a hike in salary?
Either you compensate that with years of experience, or you do MBA. That's the harsh reality.
Years of experience or MBA? MBA. What do you prefer? Years of experience or MBA?
I personally chose MBA, so I obviously believe in MBA more.
Okay.
It's not just salary, right? It's also the polishing, the networking, right? Why I believe so much in MBA is, and though I know there's a lot of noise out there about MBA is a waste and stuff like that, I don't believe so, right? Because MBA really polishes you as a person. It gives you a sense of authority. It gives you a network to actually learn from and kind of utilize in your career. So I feel MBA is very important for all of these things. And yes, it's very rigorous. It's a very rigorous course, when you go through it. And that is exactly why you're polished, right? When you go through all of this, those sleepless nights, those projects, those committees that you're doing, the case competitions that you're doing. It's like, I remember for my 2 years in my MBA, I hardly slept. I slept probably 3-4 hours a day max for 2 years. That's how rigorous it is.
So in a way it's hard, but
Totally
yes,
worth it.
yeah, L'Oreal, you are
Yeah.
worth it. So basically, why did you leave your job when you were in Heights, and that's made you more courageous? Like, what was the driving force back then?
Okay, so I'll start this by saying that I read a lot of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, and there is this one shlok in the Bhagavad Gita that says that if you fear, you will not be able to do anything, right? You need to have courage to kind of pursue whatever you want to pursue, right? So one, that is my one of the biggest inspirations in my life, right? Secondly, I don't know, I'm just built that way probably, but it's also because I take very calculated decisions and very calculated risks, right? So I know where you're coming from, that I left my job and started my agency, right? I was kind of doing well in my career, and then I took that plunge and kind of started my own business. So that is because, one, I prepared to launch my brand at least a year. I prepared for a year. I made sure I have clients from day one, and that's when I quit, right? And I was pretty confident in myself. Like I said, I've been contributing tremendous value to companies, right? That gives me confidence in myself to say that, okay, if I can do it for someone else, why cannot I do it for me? And if I can do it for one brand, why cannot I do it for like 10 other brands as well, right? So I think that gave me the confidence, taking calculated decisions and actually preparing before you actually jump into something. So what happens is, most of the entrepreneurs, they just jump into something without even considering the repercussions that you might have to stay broke for like about 4-5 months before your startup can actually work, right? And there are some who calculate too much and say, okay, we're not ready for such a risk, we cannot be so financially dependent, or we cannot be broke for a while, right? But if you're not able to compromise your lifestyle for a year, you will never be able to build a lifestyle that you want. And you need to weigh your pros and cons and then take that decision.
Bhagavad Gita helped you a lot in this decision. Be from being an employee to now being an entrepreneur, what's that one shift you are liking a lot in this entrepreneurial phase?
I think freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're doing this podcast because I don't have to rush to office and, kind of do my 9 to 5. Uh, uh, I think it gives me the freedom to do a lot more. One of the reasons why I wanted to leave my job was because I wasn't getting the time and the freedom to do things that I want to, right? For example, I run an NGO, right? I want to devote time there, right? And it doesn't say that, you can just do work for an NGO on a Saturday and Sunday. It requires you to probably sometimes be present even on a Tuesday or Thursday, right? And I wanted to do my own podcast. I wanted to write my book. I wanted to, kind of start my own agency, right? And that could only happen when I have the freedom of time and my own pace to do things. And I think that's what I'm loving the most, the freedom. I can do things on my own time. I love to travel. I travel and work from different parts of India and the country, so and the world. So yeah, I think the freedom bit is amazing.
Yeah, the perks of being an entrepreneur now. Can you just tell us the red flags in corporate now that you left your job 9 to 5? What are those red flags?
I think it's not specific to any company. It's just true for any company whatsoever.
For any company or for any employee.
So I think some of the red flags would be yes, again, like I said, it's you have less freedom to do things, right? Sometimes it can get a little toxic, right? If the people are not nice. So sometimes you need to really understand that whether your values are matching the values of the company or not, right? Otherwise it'll just get toxic because they'll expect something from you and you won't be able to deliver. Sometimes when you're in a different role or in a role where you're not liking the work, it can really get tough for you at times. Also in startups, obviously there's a daily hustle, right?
Yeah.
Everything is changing. Everything is so dynamic that you have to be on your toes, right? It can be a little overwhelming at times, not all the times, obviously, because startups are also fun, right?
Yeah.
But it can get overwhelming in terms of work, right? So that's there.
Yeah, startups are fun to work with. We are working in a startup. It's not like, because I have heard about that MNC, there are set patterns that you need to work upon. You just can't, make your own, what should I say, make your own choices or differences. Or if you have to initiate your idea, your plans, then there are 10 levels of
Absolutely,
hierarchy.
that's
But
it.
in startup, that can we do this? Okay, yes or no. Okay, so then we are all good.
That is true. That is true. MNCs, there's a lot of hierarchy. There's a lot of approvals that take place. Startup, it's more spontaneous.
Yeah.
So you can be taking a lot of quick decisions there. But both have their pros and cons. So it depends from person to person what environment suits for them. I know a lot of people who went from startups to MNCs saying that we won't be able to do it. And there are a lot of people who came from MNCs and loved the startup environment, because I switched from an MNC to a startup because I felt that's a more, not that L'Oreal is not entrepreneurial or not startup-y like. It is a lot startup-y like, but it's still startups and MNCs differ in a lot more ways.
A lot more manner. Yes, right. Just give me a roadmap if someone is starting their career, or if he or she is in the marketing line. What's the one roadmap they should take, to become that marketing manager, or get into that chief marketing officer, or get into that top management level?
So I think doing good work, obviously that's true for any job that you do, right? But it's also about going deeper into what your work requires, right? There might be scenarios wherein something is expected out of you and you just do the bare minimum, and you can turn that around by saying, look, I'm going to give it my best shot, and I'm going to go and actually see where the problem is and actually deliver something that is not expected out of me. And you make that a norm, right? Wherein you actually deliver work and value that takes you to the next level. So that instills trust in the management, in people, for them to, kind of call you and say, look, we're giving you a better project, and that is precisely what happened at Noise as well, right? I worked with them and they believed that I could do more, so they offered me a bigger role, after L'Oreal, and they gave me a lot of challenging projects to do, right? Which really helped me gain experience of not just marketing but entire business, right? So it's also how much you're willing to, go beyond your work role and explore other things as well, and take up additional work, or take up work that can actually help you improve yourself as an individual. We hear a lot of people say, why should I do this is not my work. But how about we, look at a way and say that, okay, this is a challenge, might as well, it'll make me learn something, and that gives the management a trust that, this person can actually go forward and do something better. And you're asking, right, how to get into that marketing manager role, or that chief marketing officer. Yes, years do matter, the amount of years you do, right? Your pedigree also matters, the MBA college you're from, right? Because today, one degree is not enough, right? In any profession that you can think of today, right? Even doctors, they're doing MBBS, they're doing MD, they're doing DM, right? Today, no one wants to talk lesser than an MD, right? I have so many relatives like that, right? And it's absolutely necessary also, right? In today's world, how do you differentiate yourself? It's through what you've done and what more you're capable of doing, right? So yeah.
Great. That's how one can, badge that marketing manager position, or get that chief marketing officer. You were in L'Oreal, you were in Noise for good time. What are the main challenges you faced as a marketing person? Challenges, I am asking in a way that basically there is a lot of competition in the marketing world, and yes, you do face a lot of competition, the brand wise competition. Yes, because there's Noise, there is Boat, there are multiple other companies. So what are the challenges that you faced, and how did you, balance that competition thing within an organization or outside that organization?
So I think, like I said, it's about understanding your consumer. Okay. So first of all, yes, competition exists in everything today, right? There's so many brands out there. For Noise, there might be Both, there might be Bolt, right? There might be Firebolt, right? Or Apple or Samsung, right? There's so many brands out there who are like competing in the same space, right? One, it's identifying your niche and your target audience. Okay, this is the audience we want to cater. Okay, and we'll do our best to cater this audience. One is that. Then understanding that audience, right, really well, as to what are the needs, what are the aspirations, what are the wants of this particular target group that we're trying to target, right? And then going deeper into understanding, okay, what is it that we need to do and why do we need to do it to attract them, right? Once you've already done that, once you've actually gained attraction, you've kind of built your campaigns, you've got the right audience, it's also about how you make them stay, right? Because acquiring a new customer is always expensive than retaining a customer, right? Now the experience that you provide, the service that you provide, the innovations, the cross breeding, the cross selling of products that you provide. So for example, why is Apple so successful? Because they've built an ecosystem for us, right? And that experience is beautiful, right? And that is what differentiates them, right? Today an Apple user probably will buy the same watch, the same earpods and the same MacBook from that same particular brand, because one, it's building an ecosystem, it's giving an amazing experience to the customer, right? Similarly, why someone would buy probably a Firebolt or a Boat, right, would be because they bring in funky products at a affordable price, right? That's a mass segment that we're trying to target, right? Why would someone buy Noise? Probably for its designs, for the design element that it brings for the customer at a price that probably they'll have to pay 8,000, 9,000 if they go for some other brand, right? Or the audio quality that they're trying to target through their R&D, through their collaboration with Bose, right? So it's the space that you're trying to occupy and how well you're catering and how loyal and true you are to your brand positioning. For example, noise stands for innovation, right? They always have believed in innovating products, right? And that's where we brought in the Luna ring, right? Very ahead of the time, right? A very innovative product. We spent 2 years in its research and building the product, prototyping it, testing it, right? We had so many prototypes to it. But it's a product that I feel is here to stay, right? It's in the market. It requires us to build a market, but still it's a product that will have attraction in the future, right? It's a great category to be in, and they've actually spent a lot of time in making its app, in making the product right, in writing the algorithms ourselves, hiring the right professionals for it, right? And that is how they're being true to their brand promise of delivering innovation in an affordable price, right? So it's how you make your customers stick through the brand promise that you're trying to deliver. For example, we see legacy brands, right? Colgate, we see Maggie. All of these are legacy brands, and they've been delivering their promise through and through the years, right? There's not even once you will see them distracting from their brand positioning or their brand promise, right? If Maggie talks about a connection, every campaign of there talks about a connection, whether be between a mother or a child, or a teenager and her mother, right? Or people in general, or people who are traveling, or are having stories, right? So it's about delivering that brand promise consistently to your audience. That's what makes them stay.
Okay, that's great. So that's how I believe you are dealing with the competition, just by knowing their USP. So you are basically competing with the brands by knowing their USP and what's best for your brand.
USP would be for a brand as to what is our USP and what is the need of the customer, right? So, for example, a customer needs a noodle, right? Now, why would he choose or she choose a Maggi versus a Hakka noodle versus some ramen that's in the trend, right? It's through one, how well you relate to a particular brand. Like Maggie really relates to that connect and that relevancy in the audience, right? Probably a ramen would probably be taken by someone who is fond of that kind of product or is experimental in nature,
Yeah,
right? So it's like that, yeah.
the people who are more experimenting, they would try like certain
Yeah,
things, like
certain different
Korean
products,
bee,
yes.
ramen bee, yippee bee. Yeah, there are many. So Akriti, what do you think for a creative person? Like, which one is better, in-house or agency?
So I think anyone who wants to get into marketing all would have faced this question at least once, whether to start with agency or to go for a brand, right? I think it depends one person to person, okay, as to what, because both have pros and cons, right? So let's talk about an agency, for example. An agency is a little challenging because there is no day or night there. There is no Saturday, Sunday there, right? You have to constantly work and do like a lot of things for so many clients because clients are demanding, let's face it, right? But on the other hand, you get to learn a lot, right? There are so many campaigns that you're working on. There's so much that you're doing that you get to learn so much. And plus, it's like a startup culture only, right? Because one person is doing so many things, you get an exposure, right? And on the other side, if you talk about a brand, okay, you're just talking about one brand. So the pro here is that you get to go deeper into one category and one product, or one line of product and one brand. It helps you do a lot more meaningful for one particular thing that you're working on. So it gives you a lot of freedom, right? It gives you a lot of time to brainstorm about just one thing, right? And but yes, it depends now which brand are you part of, right? Whether you are given the opportunity to do a lot more there, right? Or you're just a small part of a bigger team, right? So that's like the con, right? So if you are able to get if you're able to get into like a startup in a brand, I think that's like the best. That's what I personally prefer, because there you get both the things. One, you get to do a lot of things, and then you get to do things in depth, right? But I think agencies are also good to learn something initially and then probably shift to a brand, because it's easier to shift from an agency to a brand because you already know how to do work. Yeah.
But it's slightly difficult to shift from a brand to an agency.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So, being a creative person, You have actually started your agency. So, what are the things you are facing right now?
So I think a lot of people ask me this question that Akriti, why have you entered such a crowded space?
Yeah.
And there's so many agencies that exist out there. I feel one, it's about the quality of work that you bring on the table, right? Because there's so many agencies, but not everyone. Like I did a lot of survey before I started the agency, and a lot of brands said that we're not happy with the work that our agencies are doing, right? Because one, it's not qualitative, right? There are a lot of agencies that just do work for the sake of it, right? And how we bring a difference to the table is that we rarely provide quality work, right? We rarely go in depth of a client and understand their needs and their customers, and produce high quality content for them, right? So that's what differentiates us. But it's also not that we work with every client, right? We recently fired a client, and we work with very limited people who really resonate with the thought of sustainable marketing and long term marketing, right? Because marketing is not just done in a day. It's not like you do one viral campaign and that's about it. It's about how, like I said previously also, it's about the brand promise. Are you willing to actually spend that time and money on building your brand in a way that it promises your customers that quality and that loyalty through the years, right? It's not about, so there are a lot of clients who say, we didn't get results in a month, we didn't get results in 2 months. We specifically prefer not working with such clients, because we believe marketing is a consistent effort that takes time to build, right? You have to do everything, you have to do something or the other every month to make the brand one step closer to their promise, right? Some of the challenges that we face obviously is hiring talent, right? Because we obviously, agencies, like I said, require someone who's like very proactive and willing to do like a lot of things together, right? So obviously hiring the right talent becomes a challenge at times, right? Or getting the right people at the right cost, because obviously being an agency, you cannot really afford very experienced professionals at this stage, at least when we're just starting out. So we need to train people or get people who match our thought process, and that becomes a little challenging at times. So that is there. But yes, because we've been able to build a personal brand for ourselves, it's easier to convert a client, it's easier to get inbound requests, and I think that really works for us.
That's great. Being an agency owner now, and now you are taking care of everything, right? Hiring the right talent, getting those best clients for yourself, for your brand. And yes, be that, you want to be that, 100 crore company sooner or later. Right. So there are many challenges that you're facing as an agency owner. So what's more difficult, agency owner or that employee?
For me, employee, because I feel I cannot really work in a restricted setup. For me, freedom matters more than making a sustainable income or a stable income. I'm okay with the risk. I am okay with the chaos, which obviously is there in a startup also, like a chaos. But I'm not okay with binding myself to a 9 to 5. I'm okay working 18 hours a day. I'm okay working Saturdays and Sundays, but then I want to do it at my time and how I'm comfortable. And plus, I want to balance my life with it. I have a family, I want to give them time as well. So, a job somewhere restricts me. That's my personal opinion. I'm sure for a lot of people, different things works differently, and totally respectful of everyone's opinion. But like this works for me, so
Yeah.
I'm doing this. Yeah.
When you are building a brand now, or when your brand is already set up, so there is a thing called storytelling, right? So have you ever done that storytelling for any brand, or how storytelling helps you in, get those right consumers to your brand?
So I think storytelling today, especially today, is one of the most important things a brand and a marketing campaign should entail, right? Because today the attention span of a consumer is less than that of 8 seconds, right? For example, let's talk about reels. If you're not able to grab the attention of the consumer in the first 2 3 seconds or first 5 seconds, your reel will not get viral, right? Or will not even get views, right? Why is it so important? It's because one, attention span is less. We see so many ads. There was this one study we were reading wherein a normal average person sees 4,000 ads a day, right? Imagine. Now, how do you stand out in this chaos, right? How do you actually make sure you are remembered as a campaign or as a brand? It's only because when you connect with the consumer, right? When you evoke an emotion in the minds of a consumer, right? And that emotion arises when you're telling a story, right? For example, do you remember any theorem from maths? Do you remember the Panchatantra stories we read as a kid? Imagine you probably studied maths theorems like some years back,
Yeah.
but you studied those Panchatantra stories 20 years back, but you still remember them. It's because stories have a very lasting impact on our, minds. It makes us remember something, right? And that's particularly what happens with brands, right? When you make a story, right? You actually ingrain yourself in the memory of a consumer, and that story has to be compelling to evoke an emotion, whether be humor, anger, pride, satisfaction. Mutual funds, for example, they tell a story of safety, right? That this is safe to invest, right? That evokes an emotion in you that yes, we're investing in the right place, right? Insurance, it evokes an emotion of fear in you, right? That if you don't take this insurance, you're going to suffer in the future, right? So it's evoking an emotion of fear, which is a very strong emotion, because we humans are built on these emotions, right? We fight for survival. So if we fear, we'll become defensive, right? So yeah, I think storytelling really matters in today's time, especially. And yeah, that's about it.
So, as you mentioned, that storytelling is the most important and the most crucial part in today's time and for any brands. So, the person who is writing stories for the brand must be paid well, right?
I think it takes a team to build a story, because there's obviously a content writer. There's obviously a brand manager who brings in insights. There's someone from the social media team who says that, okay, this is my audience. You need to write a story for this person. There's a creative director who brings life to that story. So it's like a team that, it takes to, kind of actually build a story. Yeah.
So, when we talk about salaries, things or being paid well, uh, what's the highest salary one can expect in marketing field?
Can go as high as 50 lakhs per annum initially, when you initially from tier 1 colleges. uh, uh, it I think average from tier 1 colleges would be like about 20-25. I'm assuming. Okay, it can go up to, with the ESOPs and all, it can go up to 35-40 as well, but that's like from after MBA. Yeah, initially. But then obviously CMOs on like in crores. So yeah,
So, yeah, marketing people are paid well.
everyone's paid well. It's as per your experience, I feel, and the value you add. So even a product guy or a project manager is paid well today, but it depends on the kind of value you add, the kind of budgets you're running, the kind of experience you've had. For example, a digital marketer would be paid well if he's like handling a $100 million budget, or revenue, or whatever budget. Yeah.
Budget, say I got this question. Marketing people have to suffer a lot on budget. Please approve our budget. Please approve our budget. This is our thing. Please, the back and forth to the finance team, back and forth to the accounts team, it's always there. I believe that you have already done that, been there, done that. How do you deal with that? Please pass our budget. This is nothing but yes, that's for real. Pass our budget.
I think this problem is for real. Every marketer faces through this phase wherein they don't get budgets, and I think it's originating from the fact that a marketer is not able to convince the management that their efforts are going to add value, right? Why are budgets not approved? It's because the management does not believe that your marketing campaign can bring something significant to the table. But I was mentioning about Gaurav, right? So he taught me that, if Aakriti, you want to get your marketing budgets approved, you need to show them what you will achieve out of these, right? Then, and like I mentioned before, you need to show what KPIs are you going to measure this budget against, right? For example, you might be getting a budget of 1 crore and you don't put it to good use. Okay, you choose the wrong channels, you don't get revenue out of it, don't get eyeballs out of it. It's a waste for the management. Next time they're not going to invest in you and your idea, right? But if you work well, right, you plan well, you show that okay, this budget is going to enable this for the company, this is the amount of sales we can expect out of it. Okay, these are the channels we should invest, because here where our customer lies or is sitting right now, this is what it is going to actually bring. There is no way, when you can justify the budget, there is no way it will not get approved.
I believe that I got all the answers to my questions, like from marketing to chief marketing officer, how one can get there, how the difference between agency and in-house. And yes, the best part of this conversation is viral campaign, sales, marketing is all about that. So I believe that I got all the questions. Any one advice you want to give to all the marketing professionals out there who are running out of ideas daily, who are coping up with the trends, because it's very hard for the marketing people to always cope up with the trends, to think out of the box. So just one advice for every marketing professional out there.
I think research a lot. See what people are doing, what professionals are doing, what experienced professionals are doing, how campaigns are built, what campaigns, like what is the reason behind a campaign, right? Just analyze and do all of these things, right? And that will help you with the ideation bit for sure, because you'll think about what can be done better, or how this campaign really worked for someone, why it worked for someone. One is that. Second, don't consider yourself as a marketing professional. Consider yourself as a growth marketing professional who's also responsible equally for the business as much as the product person, as much as the salesperson, right? It's very important for a marketer to weigh his marketing efforts against business objectives, right? It's not just about marketing objectives, it's also about business objectives. If you're not fulfilling the business objectives through your efforts, then you're not putting your marketing efforts in the right direction, right? Because ultimately, the requirement of the business is to grow, and your marketing efforts need to actually move in that direction rather than going, here and there, right? So I think consider yourself as growth marketers and really understand what your campaigns and ideas are going to bring to the table, and that will really help most of the marketers solve most of their problems.
Okay, thank you so much, Aakriti, for coming down.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for giving your valuable time and your wealth of experience. Thank you so much.